Okay, with the tutorials out the way, now we want to actually go ahead and connect a Active Directory domain services forest to Azure Active Directory. So to set the stage, let's go over to my domain controller that I've already created. So let's RDP into that. And you can see that we're RDP'd in here, and I've created a new user in this domain called student demo. So first name student, last name demo, and that's all running in here, and I'm just RDP'd into the domain controller. Setting up a domain controller is outside of scope for this course, but if you are having trouble with that, simply search for Active Directory domain services. You'll basically build a Windows server, and then you'll do what's called a DC promo to create your new Active Directory forest on that particular server. So let's go ahead and now undo AD Connect. So let's go over to Google Chrome on this machine, and you can see here in Azure, and I want to now synchronize those users from my on-premises Active Directory up to this Azure Active Directory. So to do that, let's scroll down on the left-hand side, and you'll see a section called Azure AD Connect. Select that, and you can see there's sync status not installed, but we can go ahead and click Download Azure AD Connect. Okay, that download's complete, so let's go ahead and run that. Okay, and after a little while that pops up. If we click this icon on the bottom, you'll see the wizard. And you can see there, welcome to Azure AD Connect. Run this installation tool on the server where the synchronization service component will be installed. So I'm already on my domain controller. I accessed Azure through Google Chrome on that domain controller, so I downloaded it straight to the machine I want. So I agree to the license terms and privacy notice, click continue, and you can see that because I've only got a single Windows Server Active Directory forest, I can use express settings for that, and you can see that it's going to configure synchronization of identities in the current AD forest. So we'll go ahead and click use express settings. And then I need to give a global administrator. So this is a user in Azure AD. That's a global admin. So I created one before as well in this new domain called John Smith. So we will key him in here. And once complete, simply click Next. If there's any problem, it will let you know straight away there if that user isn't authenticated. And now I need to give some credentials for a local user that's a domain admin on the local machine, the domain controller itself. Again, click Next once you've inputted that. Now when we get to this screen, you can see we have Azure AD sign-in configuration. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to say, yep, I want to continue without any verified domains. Go ahead and click Next, and everything will continue and start synchronization as soon as configuration completes. We'll check that and click Install, and everything will go ahead and install now, and then it will begin synchronizing those users. So I should see that student demo user appear in Azure Active Directory when all is complete. Okay, and after 5 or so minutes that completed successfully, and I'm going to go ahead and click Exit, and let's take a look now at Azure AD Connect in the portal itself. Let's do a refresh here, so let's go back up to the top. Scroll back down to Azure AD Connect, and we can see that sync status is enabled. Last sync was less than an hour ago. Password sync is enabled as well. And you can see user sign-in though, federation disabled, seamless single sign-on disabled, and pass-through authentication are disabled. Now if I go over to my users in Azure AD, I should see that new user. There it is. Yep, student demo is now available in Azure Active Directory, and you can see the source there, which is Windows Server AD, as opposed to these other user accounts which were created directly in Azure Active Directory. So you can see very easily, installing AD Connect, great way to simply synchronize all your users from Azure Active Directories that you might already have on premises, or even ones that you may provision directly in the cloud because perhaps you have some legacy applications that rely on Active Directory domain services and they don't fully support Azure AD domain services or Azure Active Directory. So with that, this concludes this demonstration and hopefully gives you that good insight into AD Connect.